Many dread the cold months. It feels like all color has been drained from the woods. The sky produces the dreariest shade of gray. The rare moments the sun shines, it seems to barely make it over the horizon and then sets in the blink of an eye. It is no wonder many struggle to find joy and hope during these times. But in the north, where at times in winter the sun doesn't make it over the horizon, Scandinavians continue to find light. They find ways to come together, to support one another, to find joy, to help their community make it to spring. And one way they do so is by sharing stories. Whether it is a silly song to make people laugh, or a scary story to teach empathy, these tales prove the test of winter and the test of time.
My name is Katja Ornberg and I represent Sweden.
My name is Kerstin Bayer-Lajizan and I'm representing Sweden. We're sharing stories by the beloved Astrid Lindgren, in particular Pippi's Christmas story, Pippi firar jul, and Pippi's after Christmas party story, which is called Pippi har julgransplundring.
We are sharing a story about Pippi and her when she's celebrating Christmas. She's on her own and she doesn't have her parents, so she's trying to celebrate Christmas and she hangs up Christmas presents in a tree and invites the neighborhood and kind of have them interact with her and giving her a little Christmas feel.
Julgransplundring is an activity, it's a holiday, it's a celebration that is very common in Sweden, and it's the moment where you take down your Christmas tree. So you might do some dancing and singing around and then carry it out of the house. Well, Pippi celebrates it in her very special way by inviting all the children in the village to her house. A story of generosity and inclusion. It's a story of joy and whimsy and an inclusion and kindness to those who need it most.
We chose Pippi Longstocking because she is world famous, not just in Sweden but all over the world, and this year it's her 75th birthday and we kind of wanted to celebrate that and highlight her character a little bit because we need some hope in this time, and she is a character that brings hope and kind of makes us a little happy, and she does things that is a little weird.
Really wanted to share stories by Astrid Lindgren. She is one of the most beloved storytellers in Sweden, and living far from Sweden, her stories are ones that we've enjoyed with our children, and they were from our childhood, from our parents' childhood, and now our kids too. So they've endured through the ages and are so fun and so clever, and she really captures what it means to be a kid and all its complexities.
Pippi is also one of the persons that is, she lives by herself. Her mom died and her dad is off sailing the seven seas, and she is living a hard life, but she still makes it fun, and she manages, and she kind of makes things fun for everyone else too, and kind of in her special way.
And I think too it's a really fun story and very applicable to these times. Pippi, living alone, living isolated essentially, finds ways to enjoy and connect with others, and she celebrates this whole event in the middle of snow, outside, safely. And so maybe it's an inspiration too for ways that we can connect with family and loved ones during this most unusual holiday season.
Well, I think it's important to tell stories to kind of live of hope, but also kind of travel in time and travel into another person's feelings in life. And we chose Pippi Longstocking because she gives us hope, and she is kind of one of the people that you can turn to, and she makes you laugh, and she still has that hope that I feel like we need today too in this time.
So I come from a long line of people who love to tell stories, and I think it's a way to connect, it's a way to inspire, it's a way to build empathy, it's a way to enjoy together. And I think that especially when we aren't able to travel right now. We're not able to really have all the experiences. I've personally been really enjoying stories as ways to find inspiration and hope and new ideas and new vantage points during a pretty limited moment. And I think that stories allow for us to experience the things that we aren't able to experience, and enriches our lives and our communities in return.
Yeah, so it's important to keep on telling the stories and kind of have that in common with each other, that we know the same story. And if we stop telling stories, I feel like life would be kind of dull, and we would kind of lose a little bit of our imagination to travel in time just with our mind, not being fed with TV all the time.
My name is Susan Skobo Loschenkol, and I'm representing Denmark. This year we picked the story The Fir Tree by Hans Christian Andersen. One of the reasons that we picked The Fir Tree was because we like the message of staying in the moment. It's really easy to look forward to the next event, the next meeting, the next thing that you're doing, and now that everyone's calendars are a lot cleaner than they have been in a really long time, I think that the idea of centering yourself and being present in your current situation is something that we're all kind of struggling with. And clearly it's a message that people have needed to hear for a long time, that you need to enjoy the sun on your face and the wind in your hair and the forest around you and the birds and the nature, and it's one of the things that gets lost a little bit. So we really like the message that paying attention to your present circumstances and enjoying nature especially, we really like that. So the story of our little fir tree is always living in the future and not enjoying the sunshine and the breezes and his life out in the forest. He's always looking for being bigger and wanting to do the next thing, and he gets his glorious evening of being a Christmas tree and then ends up living in the past. So the moral of the story, it really is pay attention to the moment and live in the moment, and we thought that was a good message for this year especially. One of the things that I think is important about storytelling is it passes your cultural identity further. And in general, I think messages that are important are easier to pass through stories sometimes than other means. I think it's a really accessible way of getting a message across. I think it's a really good way of passing philosophical ideas forward. So the idea that you need to be present in your space or present in your mind and enjoy what's around you is one of those things that it's maybe easier for people to grasp that concept in a story rather than just being told to slow down. One of the benefits of sharing and telling sad and somewhat uncomfortable stories is that the act of sharing them draws people that have either had the same experience or are going to have the same experience to you, and there is community then in that sad shared experience.
My name is Tia Keobun-Peng, and I am representing Finland. I am sharing the story of the Ravantulet, which is the fire foxes and the story behind the Northern Lights. I chose this story because the holidays are very dark in Nordic countries, and the Northern Lights are a magical element of light during a dark time. The Revantulet is a myth that explains how the Northern Lights came to be. And it is of a story about the Arctic fox that runs across the frozen land up in the Arctic. And when the tail of the fox hits the ground, it sends sparks up into the sky. But there are myths about the Northern Lights being spirits and being, holding messages. There are it's really about being in tune with those things, right? Understanding that it's not just months and months of darkness, that there's vitality and there's dynamics to the winter as well. I think it's important to continue telling this story because it touches on the power of storytelling itself. The words Revontulet are also known to be ancient words for magic spells. And so there's a certain level of myth and mythology and kind of referencing oral storytelling that I think we have in some ways lost touch with. I think that the Northern Lights in particular is as much about the story as it is about being connected to nature and connected to the earth and connected to the cycles of the earth. And particularly in Nordic countries, up near the Arctic Circle, the cycles of seasons are very extreme. And so this extreme darkness of winter is balanced with the extreme lightness of midsummer. And what that does to the physiology of people is it really accentuates how connected we are to the earth and how dependent we are to fit within its cycles in a more intuitive way than I think we sometimes do in modern society. All cultures have stories that are tied to the earth, that are tied to the earth's cycles, and that is what connects us. Those are the fibers that connect us to other people. So anyone who has ever seen the Northern Lights knows in their body, remembers the experience of seeing them. And in the moment of seeing it, it's like everything stops. And you kind of look up, most likely your mouth is open. And there's this moment of awe. And every cell in your body reacts. And your feet are instantly grounded to where you are. And there's magic in moments all the time that we're too busy to notice and stay still. Even after the point where you want to get moving again, you start to notice other things. And that's when you can begin to become aware of these small moments around you, of connection to other people, of connection to the earth, of noticing the cycles that are bigger than we are, that we are a part of for sure, but that we can't control. And I think that we have been led to believe that we can control more than we actually can. And if we can start to be more still, I think we can embrace that without being afraid. You live differently in the winter because it's about being still, it's about resting, it's about letting your seeds settle, hibernate in the ground, so that then when spring comes, when summer comes, you can embrace and celebrate that. And so in a way, it's not about this consolation prize, right? It's not about, well, we have to do this in order to have that. It's really about embracing and looking forward to that slower pace and the shorter days.
My name is Rannveig Arnar Hommema, and I'm representing Iceland.
My name is Katrin Sigurðardóttir, and I'm representing Iceland.
This year, we're featuring the story of the Jólaköttur, the Icelandic Christmas cat.
We thought it was something that's still relevant in Icelandic culture today. It's a uniquely Icelandic story.
And it has a nice lesson behind it. Well, the story really dates back to olden times in Iceland, and when times were difficult, and people lived outside, they lived off the land and lived rural, and life was difficult.
The story is about the Jólakötturinn that comes into town and eats every child that doesn't get any piece of clothing for Christmas, new piece of clothing for Christmas.
I think the darkness on the countryside in Iceland in the wintertime, brings imagination with people and brought about the need for storytelling. And I think in the darkness, sometimes you see things lurking in the shadows or up in the mountains. You feel like you see something or you see something moving. And I think that's where the story really came about, that people would turn around or they would look into the distance and maybe think they saw something.
Today's society in Iceland, every family tries to give every child and every person in the family some piece of clothing for Christmas. And there's a saying, you have to give someone a piece of clothing or else the Christmas cat will come and eat you. This poem that we decided to use by Jóhannes úr Kötlum, he puts emphasis on that towards the end, that if you see someone who is suffering or who's not able to give their child a new piece of clothing, that you should step in if you have the means. And that in turn will give you a happier Christmas and it will make you feel better.
With difficult times that people may have, and it's a good reminder in modern times to think of others that may have it more difficult than yourself, and to think about others and help others at times of difficulty and during the holidays. I think the last two verses kind of tie it all together and why this is such a nice story. So maybe you'll have a heart and give help to the weak and small, for numerous needy children get nothing at all. And searching for those who suffer from shortage of light for true may perhaps make your Christmas merry too.
My name is Ingrid Auni, and I'm representing Norway. The story I'm sharing is actually a song called På Loven sitter nissen, and it is a Norwegian Christmas tune that's very beloved, especially by children, sung every year. Every Norwegian knows it. I think with the music and the songs together that have a story, for one, just the music underneath underlays words and makes it more powerful. So this tune is really bouncy and happy. And if you just heard the tune, you would feel happy and cozy, but hearing the words and the story also makes it more fun. It's about the julnisse who's sitting and he's so happy, he's having julegrøt. It's the best time of the year, and then all these little rats are running around teasing him and he just gets so mad. And when kids see that, they think it's so funny, they can play and dance around like the rats, and it's a silly story, but it just makes it more fun to listen to because that wonderful bouncy music is underneath going along with the words. For me personally, I have played that at Norwegian kindergartens during Christmas, and it has a lot of happy memories with one of the kids dressed up as the nisse, the julnisse, and all the kids dance around and sing to it. So I just love it. It's a very cozy song. But I think all the tunes that are sung during Christmas bring people together. If you were to start singing a Norwegian Christmas song, most Norwegians would know what you're singing. They'd all be able to sing it together. I think that's really a special part of that culture, but just kind of, being cozy and being together, even though it's really cold outside, it's really dark, you still have all this wonderful light coming in. Around the holidays especially is really important because it brings back memories for people. So when you sing the song over and over again, especially at Christmas, it brings back that feeling that even I originally had hearing it in Norway at a barnehage. And now when I sing it or play it in America, all those feelings and memories come back. Feelings of coziness, family, just being happy and joyful. And repeating that every year brings back all those feelings basically instantly. And so I think it's really important to keep honoring those feelings and sharing those traditions with other people so they can grow and join in and make new memories with this wonderful, silly Christmas tune. I was raised in just with the Norwegian culture that I have really taught me to either get outside and ski and embrace it, or be inside and make things as cozy as possible with candles and good food and friends and family and singing together. And this song really helps bring that joy out. And even though it's dark and cold outside, you hear this tune and I'm instantly happy and joyful and remembering I just feel cozy. And
And I think that's really important to share with people because, the holidays can be hard for some folks, and also just winter can be really hard. So continuing to share what your personal feelings are with music really helps, I think helps other people as well.
Storytelling is as important, if not more important today than it was centuries ago. Even in this day and age of instant global communication, loneliness is universal. Stories are what bring us together. Stories bridge that gap. They make us laugh, they make us cry, make us dance, make us pause. They help us share our experiences with one another so we don't feel so alone, especially in the colder months. Stories are what connect us, keep us going, give us hope, fill us with wonder, even in the hardest, darkest, coldest of times.